Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Allure of the Poor, sponsored by Dracaena Wines. Today, I am back in Paso, the best place to be on earth, and I am speaking with the owner of 6 Mile Bridge, Jim Moroney. So, welcome.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And once again, we are remote. I am so looking forward to the day where we can just sit at tables together and clink glasses. But for now, we're just going to have to do it virtually.
Yeah, that's unfortunately the way it is, but that is a lot better than being closed, isn't it? So at least we get together outside. That's half good at least.
That is true. And right off the bat, we want everybody to know that Paso is open. So get your butts to Paso and enjoy not only the wine, but everything else that Paso has to offer. The restaurants are open, everything is there. So if you're not there, you're missing out, right?
I agree with that.
All
All right.
right. So, first off, my very first question is always, what is the origin story? What is that moment that you were like, yeah, wine is pretty good and I'm going to make this my life and, I'm going to pursue my passion in this.
Okay, I don't know if it's one moment, but I'll keep it short. I would say that we had a little chance to drink some wine at home long back in the 70s with my parents. I think the wine of choice back then was Winty Brother Gray Riesling.
Oh.
1972, four, something like that. And so, anyway, Barbara and I, well, we both wound up at Stanford. She was 1 year behind me, and we began to make pilgrimages up to Napa. And boy, it was different. I mean, there was BV and Christian Brothers and Winty and Robert Mondavi, and I think maybe the Mondavi uh, winery building had just been finished, and it was, pretty slow
Impressive.
pace and not many cars. And we could just walk into a vineyard and have a bottle of wine and some cheese and crackers and stuff. And I think it was on one of those trips that we just fell in love with wine, the whole experience of wine. We're having such a great time. The weather was beautiful, the place was beautiful, the wine was great. And along the way somewhere, I said to Barbara, whenever we get to a point where we're not doing our day jobs, and if we have kids and they're all gone or whatever they're supposed to do, let's make some wine. And she said, sure. And I don't know if she was really sure, but anyway, she figured it was so far off. Who the heck cared? And humored me for a while. So that really was it, though. I wanted to be making wine literally since the mid 70s when we were in college.
Wow. And then, so you were at Stanford. How did you find Paso?
Well, we had one of my very best friends from Stanford and actually from Dallas too, named Sammy Peppert. He and his wife moved. They did a couple of 3 trips to Cambria and fell in love with it and said, we're going to move here within 3 or 4 years. And so, by the way, in 2010, they moved on 4th of July. They arrived in Cambria. 1 year later, to the day, 4th of July, Barbara and I came out to visit them. My friend Sammy said, hey, Jim, what about going doing some wine tasting? And I said, Sammy, really?
My arm.
You want to
Twist my
drive?
arm.
Yeah, well, I said, you want to drive 6 hours up to Napa? I mean, I don't want to do that.
Oh.
And he goes, you idiot. He said, there's like 200 wineries within 45 minutes of here. And I said, what are you talking about? And we went, actually, the first place we went was RN Estate on the east side, not the west side. And Roger Nichols. And we started there. We started doing some east and west side, and it was beautiful. The wine was wonderful. The people were so nice. And Barbara and I kind of looked at each other and said, whoa, maybe this is where we belong making wine when we get around to it. And that's how we got to Paso.
It is, I love hearing how people fall in love with Paso because it is such a place to fall in love with. And the story is kind of similar to how we found Paso was, I went to college in Southern California. My husband, who had never been to California, when we got into wine, we went, of course, to Napa Sonoma. and that's where he
Yep.
wanted to live. And I'm like, I am not living up north. I want to live down south, you know? And he
Yep.
said, so one year we were like, you know what? There's this thing, the Central Coast. Like literally, we called it this thing, the
This
Central
thing.
Coast. Let's go visit there. And we booked our vacation, not even knowing there was wine. We were going for the beach. We were going for a camp. Like we were doing all these things. And then
Okay, good.
we got here and we're like, oh my, exactly the same thing. There's wine. And
Yeah.
that was it. It was love at first sight. And I think that that's so true with so many people in Paso is,
Lori, that sounds literally love at first sight is the way Barbara and I felt about it. And we never looked back. We never thought about making one anywhere else.
yeah, it is an amazing place. It is an amazing place. Now, so you brought up the east side versus the west side. Where exactly is 6 Mile Bridge?
So if you're on Peachy Canyon, if you know Peachy Canyon, and if not, you may know the wineries there. We are very close to Villa Creek, literally a mile from Villa Creek. We're about, maybe 3.5 miles from Law. And so we're just right there in that Peachy Canyon corridor. If you come from the calcareous end, you'll hit Law, and then you'll hit us, and then Villa Creek, and then Torrin. And if you're, of course, coming in the opposite direction from Vineyard, you have it, Torrin, then Villa Creek, and then us. That's where we are.
And that's a very nice place to be. Nice location.
Well, we feel so lucky too, because when we bought the property in 2013, there was no Law open yet. And of course, we weren't open. So now and Torrin wasn't open. So actually, it was just Villa Creek and then on down, some other wineries all the way to Calcareous, but not as close to us. And, we felt real fortunate by the time we opened ours up. There have been 2 more wineries that have come on the scene.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about 6 Mile Bridge. So I'm Irish. I love I love Ireland. Yep. Yeah,
Yep.
there
Yep.
really is not much about Ireland that I don't know how somebody cannot like or cannot love.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I've only been there once. I keep trying to get back, but it is the most incredible place. And so your great grandfather is from County Clare, correct?
That's right. My great grandparents lived in 6 Mile Bridge in County Clare, and but for the rest of the folks, if you were in Dublin, which is on the other side of the island, and it almost came straight across, just a little bit south, is County Clare, and 6 Mile Bridge. We're in between Limerick and Shannon. Some people know the Shannon Airport. A lot of people know Limerick. We're literally almost right in between the two. In fact, 6 miles from 6 Mile Bridge is 6 miles to Shannon, I think, or Limerick, one of them. Exactly.
So I flew into Dublin and
Yeah.
then drove all over the place across to Shannon, and I flew out of Shannon.
Yeah.
And it was literally one of the best 10 days of my life. I enjoyed it so much there. So beautiful. And I'm a huge John Wayne fan. So, The Quiet Man, I had to find my way to I had to find my way to where that was filmed. We even stayed in the castle because John Wayne stayed and Maureen O'Hara stayed in
Yes.
the Ashford
Yes.
Castle.
Yeah.
And I still have a little bottle of water that they put on the side of side of the bed. I have that because it's got the Ashford Castle on it. So it is an amazing place. So do you get to go there frequently? Do you visit
We've
there?
actually only been there a couple of times. And I want to tell you one little story, which will date me, and you may not even recognize the reference, but Barbara and I were there, 30 something years ago. And we're Catholic, and we knocked on the door of the parish priest. And the door opens up and he says, "Oh, looks like a couple of Americans. What can I do for you?" And I said, "Well, we want to see if we can find our, like my great grandparents or great grandparents, because I assume this is the church they would have been at. Back in the day, you'd have the records." He looked at me and he goes, "If I ever find Alex Haley, I'm going to strangle him till he's dead on the ground." And he went on to say that when Roots came out, everyone started looking for their roots. And so all of a sudden he was answering the door every day to some American looking for their Irish roots, and he was tired of it. But being the good Irish Catholic priest that he was, he welcomed us in, and we found the marriage register of my
Wow.
great grandparents. So anyway, that was fun.
That's incredible. That's fantastic. Did you get like a picture of it? Do you have like, did
Oh,
you?
I have a picture of it. We took a picture of the register. We took a picture of all over 6 Mile Bridge. I will tell you that we've had two people from 6 Mile Bridge reach out to us, and we've just found a way to send them some wine, and I think they're going to get it in about 10 days, and they're going to share it with some people in town and send us some pictures back and and he said, I'm going to take this to my pub and have them put it up on the shelf after I finish it. And I said, great, send me all the photos you possibly can. That was such a treat to have a person find it online and then reach out to me and say, hey, could I get any of this? So that's kind of fun.
That is, oh my God. And I can imagine what it's gonna feel like when when the pictures come back to you and you see these
Oh,
people, enjoying your wine. Like it is.
I really can't wait.
Oh my gosh. So I want to talk about there's so much history involved in 6 Mile Bridge and how you've developed your brand and all of that. Um, so the it's honestly the most historical label I've ever seen. So I'm gonna hold up and I'm hoping it can be seen. So tell
Yeah,
me
there
about
it is.
this right there, this very historical thing on your label.
You want me to tell you about it?
I do, because it's so much history
Okay.
and it's so cool and just, being Irish.
Well, Lori, as you sort of indicated in a note you sent to me, not a single person so far in over 1,000 people in the tasting room has yet to identify what it is. And I even have what it is on the wall as a real one. And most of them, as you say, think it's a ring. But what it is, very quickly, is in 1852, some of the people who were working the land for the landowners were going to the polls to vote. And the landowners thought they might help escort them with their own militia to be sure that perhaps they voted not so much in their own best interest, but in the best interest of the landowners. And a couple of Catholic priests with a bunch of more of the people that worked the land came trying to, in a bigger group, trying to be sure they weren't going to be coerced into voting against their best interest. And anyway, unfortunately, the militia opened up fire, killed 6 people. Many more were wounded. And there was a hat found on the ground that belonged to Father Clune. And through the top of it, where it would have sat above his head, obviously, was a bullet hole. So he had gone through the top of the hat and missed his top of his head, fortunately. And that's a story that is connected, very famous story, connected with the 6 Mile Bridge massacre. It happened in 1852, the same year my great grandparents emigrated from Ireland to the United States. And with them was a wee lad named James Moroney. And this James Moroney would be my great grandfather and my namesake. So that's why I've loved the name 6 Mile Bridge for my entire life. I didn't get there until I was much older. Went back a second time about 5 or 6 years ago. And I love the name. And I told Barbara way back when, maybe not right there in the mid 70s, but at one point I said, Barbara, I know what I'm going to call this winery when we get to that place. And she said, oh, really? What is it? I said, 6 Mile Bridge. She goes, okay. And so that was never in doubt, never a dispute. So anyway, that's the story. Oh, and I'm sorry. And the thing on the label
yes.
is a Catholic. I'm sorry. It's a Catholic priest hat called a biretta, and it's hanging upside down. And the string is to represent where the bullet hole came in and would go out. Oh. Now, it's not exactly because it's on the bottom, not the top, but it's hard to put a hat straight up and make it look not weird. So it's hanging upside down and it's a biretta. And I said to people, look, what was a swoosh? before it was a swoosh. Nobody would have known, nobody would have cared, but they identified it with Nike. So I said, no one's going to put this on their label. And I just want people to look at it and say, oh, that's 6 Mile Bridge. If they think it's a ring, I'm okay. It's okay. You know, wherever they
As long as it
call
brings them back to 6 Mile Bridge, right?
That's right. As long as they see it and identify with 6 Mile Bridge, then that's the whole intent. And that's why we put it on the label. We have it at the tasting room, a big sign with it in 3D relief. And so there you go.
Well, I guess
So,
people are just enjoying your wine so much that they're not really paying attention to the description that you have on the wall.
Yeah, I guess not. I mean, literally, I have a picture of an old Beretta, an actual Beretta, and it's hanging on the wall. It's 2.5 by 1.5 feet. It's huge. And they can look at it and read what it is. And they keep saying, what is this on your label? And I go, no, well, you know, that's okay.
They're like, but this isn't a bridge. Why is it 6 Mile? This isn't a bridge.
Well, you're right. It isn't a bridge. And that was my initial idea to put on the label. And when I went back after these many years before we did the label, I had forgotten that the 6 Mile Bridge is not necessarily real descriptive or memorable. It's a pretty simple bridge, but we do have a picture of it in the reserve tasting room with 8 other bridges, 3 from Texas, where Barbara and I grew up, 3 from California, where we met and spent a lot of our time, and 3 from County Clare. And so they're in the reserve tasting room, and in the center of that 9 conglomeration of bridges is the 6 Mile Bridge. So it's there.
Wonderful.
You can see it if you come to the tasting room.
All right. And now I'm going to ask, because I'm like, did you happen to propose on a bridge?
God, I'm just not creative enough. That's what I should have done. And I should have put a Beretta on her finger and call it a ring. Yeah, there we go. No, I wasn't that creative. Sorry. Yikes. God, I hope Barbara doesn't watch this. She'll say, that's what you should have done. Oh, darn. Oh, well.
So let's talk about the wine a little bit. Your winemaker is actually Anthony Yount. And I mean, we know who he is, right? He's also for dinner. Okay.
Yep.
So tell me, how did your paths cross? How did you say, this is how, and, how did he come to you?
Sure. Well, the people who own Epic, they went to SMU, which is here in Dallas, and some people I knew Bill and Liz, and they knew I was going to start working on a winery there, so they introduced us. When it came time to try to think about a winemaker, I asked Bill Armstrong if I could talk to Jordan Fioratini, his winemaker, not to try to hire her, but to get some recommendations. And we went to lunch, and she said, well, there are 2 people that if you can get either one of them to make your wine, you will be happy. You'll never look back. It'll be fantastic. But I can't tell you whether they'll do it or not. And one of those 2 was Anthony. And I met with him. We had a long conversation, and I asked the question, well, would you consider making our wine? And he said, yes, I would. And I'll tell you something really interesting. Sometime later, I said to him, I said, why did you decide to make our wine? He said, because you gave me the right answer. And I said, really, what was the question? And he said, the question was, what kind of wine do you want to make? And I looked at him and I said, yeah, I remember. I said, I want to make a wine that Barbara and I enjoy drinking every day. And he said, that was the right answer. And I said, well, what was the wrong answer? And his wrong answer, he said, well, if you had looked at me and said, I want to make a 95-point wine, I would have politely said, I'm really not interested. And I said, okay, I get it. We're here to do what we enjoy. We're not trying to chase scores. We're just want to make a wine that we believe in. And that's what we're doing. And we are so lucky to have him. He is a wonderful winemaker and a wonderful person. And we have a lot of fun and just get along great. And I couldn't be Barbara and I feel so fortunate to have Anthony on our project.
And, again, going back to Paso as a whole, I think that's another thing about Paso. Like, our neighbors to the north tend to go towards the points. Let's make
Yeah.
a wine that gives me these points. And Paso just makes quality, exciting wines that happen to get fantastic points, right?
Yeah.
I think that that's a big difference in the environment, and as people come to Paso, that it's a different feeling when you come to a winery in Paso than to other wine regions.
I agree, and I think they're the winemakers that and I know, uh, they are really passionate about how they make their wine. They don't want to follow anybody's rules. They don't want to do it like somebody else does it. They want to do it the way they like to do it, and make the wine the way they want to make it. And they're very devoted to that. And as you said, so they're going to make the wine they want to make it. They're going to make the wine they want to make. And if it happens to get a great score, good. But I don't think they're saying, well, maybe I should do more extraction, or maybe I should, add back some acid or something. So maybe I'm going to get a better score. That's not what I ever heard in the beginning, and I still don't hear today.
Right. Absolutely. That is definitely Paso-esque.
Yeah, it is Paso-esque.
All right. So we talked about the wine a little bit, but now I want to taste it. So this is this is the 2017 Six Mile Bridge Estate Cuvée. So can you just give me a little bit background on that while I start to sniff?
Okay. Well, that is our flagship wine, our Estate Cuvée. Cuvée, kind of another good word for blend. And we have on our Moroney vineyard, our first vineyard that we planted, which is named after my paternal grandmother. It has all 5 of the principal Bordeaux varietals. So it has Cab, and it has Merlot, and it has Petit Verdot and Malbec. And what did I leave out?
Cab Franc.
Cab Franc, and in different percentages. And it really is our best fruit. It's the best fruit we get off of the Moroney vineyard. We sort that fruit, we taste it, and once we barreled it, and we say this is our best blocks, best fruit, and we put that together to make our Estate Cuvée. It's different. It was different in 16 in terms of blend than it is in 17, and it will be again in 18 and 19. We've already gone through. So it just depends on how the fruit turns out in the different blocks, and what the percentage blending gives us the profile that we want. And that's it.
So always the 5 Bordeaux, but just the percentages are different, or sometimes you don't use all the 5.
Well, so far, I can tell you through our 2019 blending, we have used all 5, but we are not wed to that. Yeah, married to that. We might start doing something different. I will tell you that in 19, and this will be the first time, so this won't be released until September of 22, but we're going to have a Limerick and a Shannon. The Limerick, which is to the right, if you look at a map, it's to the east or the right of Six Mile Bridge. It's going to be white right bank driven, so more Merlot, more Cab Franc. And the Limerick, the Shannon, which is to the left, will be more left bank, like left bank Bordeaux, and more Cab driven. And we blended 2 different, if you will, Estate Cuvées, and we're going to rename them Shannon and Limerick, and make them more in a left and right bank style.
I am in love. That is
good.
That is brilliant. That is beyond brilliant. I absolutely, as soon as you said the names and you went, more right, I knew where you were going, and I just was like, yes, that is fantastic.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to, blow this out if people watch this. But so if we make a right bank styled wine, and we call it Limerick on the right side, should we put the grapes and their percentages on the label, or not. And here is the pivot question, because as you know, Merlot leads the right bank wines,
Mhm.
and Merlot may still be trying to recover from the Sideways movie. And so are they going to look on that label and say, oh God, Merlot, I don't want any of that. I'm going to go over here, to Shannon. What do you think?
So in my head, I'm envisioning the back label being the story of connecting, uh, you know, to the left bank. I'm
Yep.
sorry, to the right bank.
Right, man.
So I personally would stick to just the story. And if people realize it's Merlot based, it's Merlot based. If they don't understand that right bank is Merlot based, I would kind of leave that out.
So
I
you're
mean, it would
saying,
definitely be on this, I would definitely put it on the tech sheets, but on the
yep.
bottle, I would stick to this is a right bank Bordeaux blend and explain why it's,
Okay.
why it's
All right.
Limerick, right? Limerick.
Well, that's kind of
Yeah.
where I think we're headed. But as you noticed on the bottles that you had and all the bottles today, we put the
Right.
percentages of each of the different varietals on there. This one I think is like 53% cab, 52, 53% cab, and then on down with Merlot being like 17%. But in 16 we had 36% cab and 25% Merlot, so it was much more Merlot heavy relative to the cab than the 17 is, and that was just a blending decision.
I mean, on the other side of the story, on the other side, I mean, if you want to stay true to your label, your front label, I don't know how many people are actually looking down there for that
Could be,
percent.
yep, good point.
So then you're sticking to your label concept.
Yep.
Now I'm going
Okay.
into my marketing,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
But like what you have on the back, like the 11-acre estate vineyard, and that's all about the story of right bank versus left bank and Limerick versus Shannon, and nice little map or something, like that's how I
Yeah.
would see
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
back. I don't think I don't think I would, as much as I think Merlot is really, really making a comeback and people are understanding that
Yeah.
it's a quality wine that is killer. Um, I don't know. I think right now I might still stick to just right bank, left bank. And if people know what they're drinking,
Yeah.
they
Well, I will
know
tell
what they're
you,
drinking.
our Merlot has been some just incredible. Anthony has even this year said it may have been from his palate and I'm talking about 2020, the best fruit off the whole vineyard, the Merlot. So we definitely want to do something. I've really been thinking about putting out a bottle of Merlot and calling it on the 20th, to release it coincident with the 20th anniversary of Sideways, and call it Upwards. And it's just a little homage to trying to, rehabilitate Merlot. So many people, I don't know, that might like a right bank wine may not, as you point out, realize that it's going to more than likely have more Merlot than anything else. And one of the great right bank wines is almost all Merlot. So anyway,
well, if we're going back to Sideways, right?
Yep.
People remember that one line, but forget the line that I think is 2 lines prior, which is the reason why he's not drinking Merlot, is because his ex-wife loves Merlot. It has absolutely nothing to do with the grape itself. It's because he's so upset with his ex-wife. That's the reason why he's not drinking. And then you go to the final scene. What is he drinking? A right bank Bordeaux that is one of the most expensive wines out there.
Funny, I knew the last thing you just said. I had forgotten the line before, and I'll have to go back and look at that. I didn't realize that. Maybe I should call the wine my ex-spouse or something. And
yeah,
no, I don't have an ex-spouse, by the way.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. I think
that's good. I think that the majority of, and I could be wrong, but I think the majority of just wine people who enjoy wine, not those who dive into the education of wine, but people who just enjoy wine, they know right bank, they know left bank as just terms. I don't think And to be really honest, as much as I've studied wine and all of my certifications, every day, you know how I remember which is which?
How?
Because Right Bank has an R in it, so it's Merlot.
Very good. That's how I kind of do Stern and port. But port has four letters like left does. So left is
Oh,
port and leaf,
see,
whatever.
whatever,
Leave starboard for the other thing. Yeah.
whatever sticks in your brain. But let's go back to your cuvee. About how many cases is your entire production?
Well, right now it's only about 1,200 cases, and of that, the estate cuvee will be several hundred of those, and then we're really more into 125, 150 cases of the cab, the Paladin, a little less so with the Sauv Blanc. So the right now we have more. The most of wine that we produce is the estate cuvee.
It's a very dark fruit wine.
Yep.
And it's I Coravin it, so it's very fresh.
Yep.
I opened it like about a half an hour prior to we got on. So right now it's got a nice it's got the leather coming out of it in the aromas.
Yep.
But it's very dark and deep, and the color is like you can't even see through, that is nice deep dark.
Yeah, it's very off the chart dark. And I would tell you that I'm trying to figure out how to slowly even release these wines 1 year later. Right now, we released the 17 this past September. We'll release the 18 this coming September, which we're,
3 years.
We're on the later end right now. But I don't know about you, Lori, but I have had, and I'm more of a savory guy, by the way, than maybe a fruit forward guy. But the best wines I've had in Paso have been a 2012, a 2013, some things with some at least 5 to 7 years of age on them. And these wines have very good, strong tannins. We have pH in our grapes naturally that's in the 3.3, 3.4 range. So these wines will age, and they will age well. Mm-hmm. And if I was going to do what I think would be best to do, I'd put these wines away and drink them 3 years from now. When they're, so a 2017 would be 6-7 years old. I really do think they're going to peak somewhere in the 23, 24 year from now. So that's my opinion. We haven't had a wine yet to get that old, because 2016 was our first wine. But that wine was even bigger than this wine is, and it'll age even longer. And we told people when the 17 came out that if you're going to drink one of our two wines and you have to have both vintages, drink the 17. While not exactly what I would call purely approachable, it was more approachable than the 16s, even, being a year younger. So that's just what's coming off of our estate.
There's the tannin is big. It's there. Yeah. But in all honesty, it's not overpowering. The wine is completely balanced.
I give, and Anthony and I talk about balance and texture probably more than anything else, and integration, balance. And that's what I think great winemakers do. Like Anthony, if you give them really good fruit, they can make really great wine. And, I was a little bit hesitant when I came to Paso, and it was, I said, I said to Anthony, well, Anthony, I like, that about 13% alcohol wine, 12.5 like they do in Bordeaux. And he goes, Jim,
we're in
you're
Paso.
Never going to get that here.
We're in Paso.
That is not happening. He said, we have twice the amount of sun hours or whatever that Bordeaux gets, and the fruit ripens. But he's convinced me that if you build a wine that between the fruit and the tannins and the acid, and it's 15%, it doesn't go down hot and burning.
No,
it's about that balance and that integration. And I think that's what really great winemakers like Anthony are able to do that maybe others just have a harder time achieving.
Yeah, it's not simple to maintain balance like that.
No,
And it is definitely in balance. And,
thank you.
right now it's the fruit is tight. The fruit is tight,
Yep.
but it's there. Like you can taste it. It's in the back. And if I leave this glass out for, like it's 3:30 now, if I had that at 5 o'clock, that's where you're talking about. That's a 5-year-old wine, about, and it's going to be singing. It's going to be beautiful because
Well, I would even tell you that next time, take a bottle, have a glass or two, cork it, put it back in the refrigerator, and have the next day. And I've had second day bottles of our wine that are the best I've had, better than anything I've opened and let breathe for 3 or 4 hours. The next day, then it starts singing it, and it's got a little softer texture to it. The tannins have given up a little bit. I want to try to get them. I want to try to release them 1 year later. So we're trying to work on figuring out how to do that without having to shut down.
right. But it's the tannins are not overbearing. They're not,
No,
they're there. So even right now being Corvined, they're not overbearing. This is a great wine. It's going to be spectacular when
well, thank you,
when
thank
it
you. I appreciate that. I obviously biased, but I agree with you.
I anybody who knows me, I do not lie. I mean, and when people, but one of the things is, my husband has a friend, which I'm sure doesn't listen to this, so I will go right ahead and say it. I do not like this person at all. I just don't like him at all. And when we're together, this person has actually said to my husband, your wife does not like me, does she? And my husband will go, oh no, she doesn't. People, no, she does not hide. She does not hide if she doesn't like you. I am
Okay.
not, I am not fake to the face, man. I am a great poker player. You don't want to play poker with me because I have a poker
Yep.
face, but I'm not a let me talk behind your back or let me say one thing and and then do another. No.
I have a friend, and I say to him, you stab people in the front. And he goes, yeah, that's right. I do.
Yeah.
And that sounds a little bit like you, which, okay, if
Yeah.
I had to have one or the other, if they're going to stab me
Yeah.
in the front. Let me,
Yeah.
give it to me. Let me know what you're going to say. Don't do it behind
Yeah.
my back. Yeah.
I am never saying anything to somebody else that I will not say to your face. And
There you
you
go.
know what? That's what it is. So
Good.
I am saying this wine, it is a beautiful wine. It's
Thank
got a
you.
lot of dark fruit. It even opened up a little bit just with the little bit of swirling I was doing to open up a
Yep.
little bit of the fruit. So that's coming out.
Well, Lori, and this is, at least I believe, and I think there's some data to support this, that, so many people, first of all, want a little more fruit forward than not, if not a lot more fruit forward. And they do drink wines, not very long after they buy them. And so I think it can disadvantage a wine like this, because a person who's used to more fruit forward wine that's sort of more pop and pour is going to taste this, and they're going to get those tannins, and they're going to say, where's the fruit? Or I can't taste the fruit. It's kind of bitter in my, I'm getting that astringent sort of thing. And, what can you do now?
I personally just
I,
think it's an old world wine. That's
yeah.
all. And
God, that's the greatest thing you could ever tell me.
I spend a lot of money in my cellar on old world wine. So I agree. I think that there's different palates. I enjoy both. And
Wait a minute. I'm going to get something real quick. Hang on.
okay.
So I think I don't know, is it Friday or Saturday is National Drink Your Really Special Bottle of Wine Day?
So Saturday, the 27th is open that bottle night. Yes.
Okay. Can you see this?
Oh yes.
It's a 1982 Rare Rose.
Yes.
And from St. Julien. And it is really special. And I'm not going to cry here, but I cry at supermarket openings. I'm very prone to crying. But my very best friend in life died of brain cancer, and his name was Peter Rose. And I've kept this bottle for a long time to sort of, you know, was in a memory to him. And so since my daughter-in-law said she's going to put it on Instagram and wanted us all to go get a special bottle, I grabbed that one. And so Saturday I'm going to drink that.
Oh,
Isn't
well, that is a perfect bottle to open on Saturday. And just so you know, I am co-hosting a Zoom for anybody who wants to join of Open That Bottle Night.
Oh,
And
really?
yes, so it honestly was not my idea. It's a colleagues of mine wrote me and asked me if I would, I guess, be the face behind it. I don't know. He thinks I don't know why he thinks I have more people than he does. But so another colleague of mine are actually tonight at 6 o'clock are going to go live on Instagram to talk about the Zoom event that's happening on Saturday night. And all it is people coming on and showing their bottle and telling the story of why they're opening that bottle. So
send me the link.
I
I may just get
absolutely
on and
will.
listen. And when I have a chance, I might tell my story. I can't, you know, depending on time zone changes and all that kind of thing.
Well, we're here. Oh, okay.
I'm going to be in Texas, so the timing may work better or may not work. I don't know, but send it to me.
They're both East Coast. So it's Saturday is 7. They're doing it 7 to 9 on Saturday.
Oh, okay. I might be able to join that.
So yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. I will send you the link when I get it. Yes, absolutely.
I'll steal that idea next year. I won't do it this year.
All right. All right. So let's talk about, you did mention that the Mady Vineyard was after your maternal grandmother, correct?
That's right.
So I know there's a story behind Grace Vineyard.
Grace is my maternal grandmother. And what is really special about it is she was a lovely lady, just marvelous, and a very devout Southern Baptist, and alcohol never crossed her lips in her 93-year-old life. And so I'm not Irish. Doing this. I'm doing it to honor her. It's not a get back at you, Nana, or anything like that. But her real name is Grace. We call her Nana. And so since I had my paternal grandmother, I thought, well, let's name it Grace. And then my cousins in Tennessee, where she grew up, said, you know, our
she's rolling in her grave.
Yeah, she never drank anything. And I said, well, it's okay. That's, Grace is a great name, and she was a wonderful woman, and so that's where it comes from.
Wow. And I got to go back to, how does that marriage work? Irish and Southern
Irish,
Baptist.
And it was actually German. She was Grace Wilhoit, or her husband was Wilhoit. And
my maiden name is Hoyt, German Hoyt, which is a shortened version of that.
That's funny. My mother was a professional singer, and she changed her name while she sang from Helen Wilhoit to Lynn Hoyt. Yeah, there you go. God, it's the first Hoyt I think I've ever met. H-O-I-T?
Yeah, H-O-Y.
Wow.
Why, like the winery in Paso?
Oh, why?
Why? Oh, you're H-O-I?
Oh. Yeah, H-O-I-T.
Okay.
Hoyt, H-O-I-T, and she just shortened it to Hoyt, H-O-I-T. Okay, close enough though.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. And I'm not related to the Hoyts that have the winery in Paso. Okay. I tried, but we're not. Not. All right, so you said that your first vintage was 16?
Our first vintage was 16, that's right. And everything up and through 18 has come strictly off the Mady Vineyard. We planted the Grace Vineyard in 18. We dropped most of the fruit this past harvest in 20, but we left a little hanging, and I've tasted it. It was Cab. We have all Cab and some Cab Franc. We dropped all the Cab Franc. We left a little bit of Cab. I've tasted it. It's good, and it's a very different profile. There's more clay. There is clay in the soil in Grace. Our Mady Vineyard is 12 inches of, topsoil dirt and nothing but limestone all the way down. And this one has great limestone soil, but has some clay in it. And it gave the Cab a very different profile. So it'll be fun to bottle some of it as a Vineyard Pacific, and it'll be fun to blend with it because it'll bring something different than the fruit off of Mady.
Absolutely. And so let's go back to that limestone. So Peachy Canyon is very appropriately or
Yeah,
appropriately
appropriately. Yes.
appropriately named because of the pink limestone that's in there. So I don't think you're actually the first person who we're interviewing that's from Peachy Canyon area. So let's talk about that pink limestone because it's
But
pretty cool.
yeah, it's very cool. And what's interesting is that when they were sort of preparing the whole vineyard in Meiji, all of this limestone came out of the ground in huge pieces of stone, all pink, all sort of peachy pink, that peach, orange pink kind of peachy color. And the person that did it, Rich Gonzalez, has probably ripped more, land in Paso than anybody. He said, Jim, I got to tell you, I've never seen this much of that peachy color limestone in any other vineyard I've done. And Anthony said the same thing. We did go get a geeky sort of explanation from I don't know if it was a geologist probably, and he said that it's the iron in the soil sort of, I don't know if I'm using the right word, but leaching into the limestone and giving it that peachy color, whereas without that iron, it would be your typical white limestone. And we have that white limestone as well, but off the Meiji vineyard, it was predominantly this peachy color. And so it's wonderful. We have it all around our house and some retaining walls and things like that. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, you got to make like countertops out of that. Well, I guess it's probably too soft to do countertops, but
yeah,
right. But yeah, awesome.
but it's really, really pretty. And I don't, is there something special about that iron that's sort of, I don't know, oxidized into the limestone to give you a different flavor profile? He said it's possible. And so I'm saying, yeah, it's different.
I have to say that it does. I mean, any little thing that's different and in that significant of amount has to give some sort of effect. We may not know
Right.
what that effect is at this moment, but it's playing into the role of what's creating this entire product, this entire grape, vineyard. Absolutely.
We keep a couple of pieces of the Peachy Canyon limestone, and then a white limestone down in the tasting room, and we say to people, here's what we have, and here's what most limestone is, and look how different. And people are like, wow. What is that all about? Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of your other wines. Yeah, the names, I love the names. So you have Paladine and Incantation.
Yep.
Right. So where are those names coming from and what are those wines?
So everybody has to have a wine named after their dog, right? So
my entire winery is named after my dog.
Okay,
so.
Well, there you go. You're ahead of us on that score. But Paladin actually was a television show in the late maybe the late 50s, early 60s. And Paladin means heroic champion, if you look it up in the dictionary.
Okay.
And the star of the show was a guy called Paladin. He dressed all in black and he looked like a real badass. But actually, people called him, wired him, back in the Old West, and he came and helped right the wrongs that bad people did on behalf of good people. But he looked like a bad guy.
Okay.
And I loved the show, watched it with my dad when I was a kid. And since he was all in black and our first dog was a black lab, we named him Paladin. We named this Paladin sort of after the dog. Also always loved the name, loved the TV show. And it's a Zinfandel blend, and it has been mostly with Cab. And I also think, Lori, and again, there's some people like me that love a really great Zinfandel, and there's other people that sort of just turn their nose up at it. So I thought, if we put Zinfandel on the label, some people might not even want to try it. And we put Paladin on there. We did put the blend on there. You can see it. But I will tell you, back to this, because there's not nearly as much tannin structure in Zinfandel, and I think the first one was 80-20, and this last one maybe 75. 75% Zinfandel. There's not as much tannin in the Zen, and they drink more fruity, more forward sooner, and so it's been probably the best. I know it's been the best selling wine since we released the 17s in the tasting room, because people are getting this great fruit right out of the bottle on it, whereas the Cab and the State Cuvée are a little more tied up.
Okay.
So that's Paladin, where it comes from, and it's going to continue to be a Zen blend wine.
Okay.
It may not always even be 75% Zen, and we have that opportunity because we call it Paladin and not Zinfandel. You don't see Zinfandel on the label anywhere like that. And then Incantation, it's a name one of our sons came up with. We were doing fanciful names, and we have Malbec on our Mady Vineyard, and it is the deepest color Anthony took it to a lab and the guy couldn't believe it. He said, I've never seen numbers like this on color anywhere on anything in Paso Robles. That word got out. We had some people wanting some cuttings and so forth, but Anthony just said, I didn't think Malbec would work in Paso Robles. And that year, the 17, he said it was the best fruit in the house. And he said, we've got to make a wine out of this. It's just incredible. So he made a 75% Malbec, 12.5 Cab, 12.5 Petit Verdot. And again, we gave it a fanciful name in case somebody's not a Malbec fan or thinks they're used to drinking. And I say this, there's great Malbec wines in Argentina, but there's a lot of mass produced Malbec. And we didn't want to be stuck with having to always put 75% Malbec in it if we wanted to blend some other things. So that's where it comes from. And I like Incantation because it's sort of like, okay, we're doing something that hadn't been done in Paso, leading with a Malbec, and magic happens. And it's going to make this great wine. It's a wonderful wine.
Wonderful. And now the one I'm really, really excited about, McQueen. So just so if anybody who's listening, Steve McQueen has quite a bit of history in Paso, not good history in Paso.
I don't think I know this, Lori. What is this?
Really? So Steve McQueen's car accident where he died is Paso. So as you're coming down 46, so from like Fresno or Bakersfield, right, where what is that, 41 merges with 46?
Yeah.
Okay, right there. That's the intersection that Steve McQueen's died. That's the intersection where he was killed in the car accident. And then it is it used to be the cider house. It used to actually be the Hearst Ranch second tasting room.
Oh, okay.
And I guess it's technically not Paso, but whatever that little itty bitty town is.
Okay.
There's a huge tree there, and there's a memorial to Steve McQueen there. And it's actually that intersection where 41 and 46 come together. It's actually called the Steve McQueen intersection. There's a sign that says Steve McQueen intersection.
Okay. Well, having no knowledge of that whatsoever, actually, McQueen is my middle name.
Oh my God.
And so
you're probably wondering, why is she so intrigued by this one bottle?
Look, every person, as I grew up, everyone said, well, are you related to Steve McQueen? They didn't really think I was, but they had to ask the question. Of course, I never said yes, I wasn't, because I wasn't. But we were going to we wanted to practice making wine. And because we had, 4 years before we get fruit off of the Mady Vineyard. So in 2014, Anthony said, let's source some fruit and let's make some wine. And I really didn't want to start a second label, branding, marketing. I said, having two labels is a nightmare, particularly for a startup, winery. And Barbara, my wife, said, no, Jim, we really got to have a second label. So I said, all right, okay, I'm with you. And she's right, by the way, as it turns out, in my opinion. But we said, oh, let's just name it McQueen. I mean, what the hell? We're not going to ever make this. We made 50 cases in 14, 50 cases in 15. and then we quit in 16 because this was just practice wine. And we never released it. We never sold it. We never did anything with it. The first McQueen was off of York Mountain, and the second one, York Mountain AVA, Shell Mountain, actually, I guess, or Shell Vineyard. And then the second one was some Jada fruit, I think. And it was called Tricolor, by the way, because it was mostly Cab, but some Petit Verdot and Merlot. And our Basset Hound is called a Tricolor because she has 3 colors. So I put a picture of her on the back. Again, we weren't going to sell this wine. My kids loved it. They thought it was funny. And anyway, so in 17, for some reason, I don't remember why, Anthony said, well, do you want to start making the McQueen again? And I said, yeah, what the heck? I don't know. Go ahead. So we sourced fruit off dinner, Cab only, fruit that he knew well, knew how to work with well. And we've stayed with it ever since. The 2014 McQueen, by the time we were running out of wine in the tasting room. And I said to Rosie, what do you want to do? And she says, well, you want to just start selling the McQueen? I said, oh God, well, we got 50 cases. That stuff, we had one guy walk out with 4 cases of it. It was,
oh my gosh.
Back again, it was 2019. It was 2020. 2020. So it was already 6 years old. And it's a cooler climate, Cab being up in that other York Mountain AVA. It was a beautiful wine. I was like, oh man. And I found out we had 1 acre of it. And Herman Story, Russell had the other like 7 acres, and he got the acre after we quit using it. And I couldn't go back because I would have gone and sourced some fruit back off it. It was fabulous. So by the way, if you can find a Herman Story straight up Cab, you should try it because that fruit is really great fruit. Anyway, so we've been making it. We skipped 16, and we've been making about 80, ish cases with some fruit off of dinner, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Oh,
and maybe we'll source them. So that's where McQueen comes from.
Here I am. So before we recorded, I told him, go get the bottle. I'm envisioning in my head, some Steve McQueen. I'm envisioning some Steve McQueen, like,
I'm sorry,
Great
I can't tell you that I'm related like to Steve that. McQueen.
I thought you were paying homage to. I thought you were just.
I watched all of his movies as a kid. I thought he was the coolest thing around, but I have no relation to him that I know, and I'm sure I don't. So we are able to have a little Scotch with our Irish, because obviously this is a Scottish name, and it's my, I think, great grandmother on my father's side's maiden name. She was a McQueen.
See, I don't think you can, in our generation, I don't think you can have Irish without Scottish. Like, I think it's
well, there we go.
Yeah.
So,
but oh my God, that's why you're probably wondering, why does she want to see this label so badly? I had a whole other thing in my
I know.
head.
I was sort of surprised when you brought it up, but I will say this. It is a different profile, of course, because it's off dinner. But Anthony knows this fruit and dinner, really better than he knows our fruit, because he's been working with it longer. He's been the principal winemaker. I think he's 36. He's been 11 years as the principal winemaker already at dinner, which is incredible to think about. But he is the McQueen Cabernet Sauvignon that we really have only been selling in the tasting room. We opened one little window in January of this year because of being closed down again, but otherwise you only can get it in the tasting room.
So this is now the second time that I had a whole other story in my head for a thing. So do you
sorry.
Do you know Drew Nenow? He's over on Peachy Canyon. So Drew Nenow. He just opened,
sure,
right?
Sure.
He just opened the tasting room. So he has 11s. He has a wine called 11s.
Yes.
And in my head, I was like, oh my God, the 11, the AVAs, all of this. He's like, oh no, never thought about that. It has to do with 11:11 on the radio, on the clock, and being good luck. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's funny you say that, Lori. I've been there to taste their wines, and I think I heard that story, but I had forgotten what it was. I've forgotten why. I didn't know. I didn't think about the 11 AVAs. I was just kind of what does 11 come from? And I think they said, yeah, it's good luck.
Good luck,
or something.
because when you look at the clock and it says 11:11, that's supposed to
11.
be good luck, you know. I don't know, but I had
Yeah.
a whole other story in my head, and now I had a whole.
Yeah, there
So
we go. Sorry.
now the next time you're going north out of Paso, what is it?
All right,
Chamosa? I don't
I'll have
even
to-
Chomosel, whatever. I don't know how to say that area.
yeah.
You're gonna see there where Hearst Ranch second tasting room used to be. Now it's like a cider house.
Okay.
And then like you can keep going up 46 to go to Bakersfield, or you turn to go 41 to Fresno. There's a sign that says Steve McQueen intersection. And then that big tree that's by the what used to be the tasting room has a big memorial thing around it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll take a look. I typically, when I'm coming, I come from the south because for wonderful reasons, American flies directly from Dallas to San Luis Obispo.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we are approaching our hour, and it went fast because I was having a blast talking to you.
I was too. I hope somebody learned something about the wine. I was having a great time.
So can you tell people where they can find you on social media?
Yep. So just, hashtag 6 Mile Bridge, that's us. If you put it, hashtag 6 Mile Bridge, you'll find us. You can put it in the search widget on Instagram if you want. We have a Facebook presence, but we don't really work it very much. We don't have a Twitter account that we use. It's really just Instagram is where we're doing all of our social media.
Okay. And you do actually have an account. It's 6 Mile Bridge, right? So it's at 6 Mile Bridge, right?
That's the account. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And then, like we said at the beginning of this, Paso is open. So how can they get into your tasting room?
So you can go to 6milebridge.com online and make a reservation through Talk. They got the reservation system, but it's embedded obviously in the website. You'll see Visit Us. Click on Visit Us. It'll bring up and you can make a reservation. We have right now everything, of course, outdoors. We have got a beautiful, gorgeous, probably 150 or 200-year-old oak tree that we trimmed up a little bit and built a deck underneath. I named the tree Melchizedek, and anyway, only people that, sort of have read the Old Testament might understand that. But anyway, it's Melchizedek, the tree, and the deck is beautiful. It's made out of redwood. And so you can sit under there and have a great time. You can be outside on our porch. And we even have a porch that has some screens that come down. So if it gets a little cold in the morning, we can close those down and create heat in what is still an outdoor space, but it qualifies an outdoor space, but has a little bit of an indoor feel to it. So we invite everybody to come by, make a reservation. We are reservation only. And I also want to tell you, which I'm really proud of, we have a strict policy, one host to one group. You will not have a person, wondering where they went to, or they're talking to someone like me that talks too much and you can't get them away from another table and your glass has been empty for 5 minutes. We have one host to one group. And when we get filled with the number of hosts we have, we don't take any more people. You can always call in case we're available for somebody, but pretty much best thing to do is make an appointment.
And I'm going to guess dog friendly.
Oh, dog friendly, baby friendly, kid friendly, and we're even people friendly. So yeah, we're just, I'll tell you, Lori, you can hire people with a lot of different characteristics and you can train people in a lot of different things, but you cannot train friendly. You have to hire friendly, and we hire friendly people. Who wants to go to, as I say, who wants to go to a winery tasting room and be served by Eeyore? You want Tigger, you want Tigger to come in and be happy like you are. You're drinking wine. Life's good.
Tigger.
You're kids. Yeah, and the Eeyore comes up and starts moaning about how bad the day is. Like, give me a break. So we're very Tigger, focused. We hire friendly people, and Rosie runs our tasting room. She's been around Paso.
And I know Rosie. Rosie is
Rosie, great. Well, she's wonderful, and she's friendly, and she hires friendly.
Yes. So there you
If you're
go.
a friendly person, come visit.
6 Mile Bridge. They are T-I-double-Ger, G-E-R.
Yeah, double gur. I like
Double
that.
gur. Excellent. They are. That
All
is
right, well,
wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing 6 Mile Bridge, your story, your wines. I had a blast talking to you. And I can't wait to get a little free time and stop in and see you in real life.
well, again, thank you so much. I had a blast. I could do this all night long. It was so much fun. If we did go a little longer, I was going to open some wine up, but now that we're done, I'll wait.
Oh.
And do come visit us. We would love to see you. Reach out to Barbara and me, and we'll come down and have some wine with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will send you that link once that Zoom link is created.
Please do.
I will send you that link for Saturday. So,
All
all
right.
right. Have
All
a
right.
great
Take
evening.
care,
Thank
Laurie.
you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.